more about this amazing exhibit. And of course, the African American Research Library and Cultural Center is Dr. Tamika Bradley Hobbs. And we're so excited to talk not just about this amazing exhibit, but where we are too, because this center plays a huge part in history here in South Florida. So tell me a little bit about this cultural center.
Sure. We are a part of Broward County Library System, but when we were established 23 years ago, we were only the third institution of our kind in the nation as a publicly funded institution that also had a responsibility for collecting, preserving, interpreting, and celebrating the history of African-descended people.
Coming downstairs to this exhibit, tell me a little bit about this exhibit here.
Sure. The exhibition, To Be Sold, Enslaved Labor and Slave Trading in the Antebellum South, is an incredibly powerful exhibit. It has its roots in a woman, Margaret Seidler, who made a discovery about 7 years ago that she had slave traders in her family. One of her ancestors, William Payne, was the largest slave trader in the city of Charleston. And you have to understand, Charleston, South Carolina, people have called it the Ellis Island for African Americans because of the nearly 500,000 Africans who were brought here to this country. About 40% came through Charleston. Margaret really leaned in. She began to do research. She was determined to connect with any of the descendants of people who were sold if she could find them. But she happens upon John Jones, who is an African-American painter, famous for The Color of Money, and he was intrigued by the research that she'd done. And so they agreed on a partnership that, based on the ads of people for sale from her ancestor, William Payne and Sons, that he would vivify these people by painting them and bringing them to life. And I have to tell you, as a historian, I've seen the ads, as a part of my studies over the years. You see the names, you see the price, you see the expertise. There is something so special about this exhibition, to have these individuals vivified, to have them, their humanity displayed. But even more importantly, you get a sense of the expertise, labor, and skill for which they were valued, but they never had an ability to be able to profit from themselves. These children, even though they have white paternity, potentially, are still chattel. This woman, part of her value is what they would term her increase, her ability to reproduce, because that becomes additional bodies for her master to use, put to work, or to also sell. When we talk about slavery, we really have to appreciate the special burden that Black women bore during this era.
A lot of people would say, know your history, know what's happening, know what happened so it doesn't happen again. On the other hand, others may say this is just too much to take in, we're not there anymore. What's your take on that?
This is American history. What you see around these walls, the value that these individuals brought to Charleston, South Carolina, and by extension through the American South, by extension to this nation, when you think about the economic impact of the southern states to this nation's overall gross domestic product, you can't tell the story of America fully and truly without acknowledging the unpaid labor of enslaved Africans. And so I think it's highly important. But even personally, as a person of African descent here who traces my heritage back to the Gullah Geechee culture in South Carolina, I would not be here if someone hadn't survived this experience. And so for me, it is opportunity for reverence and reflection. We get on the train for Juneteenth. Everybody wants to throw all of the parties to celebrate that moment, but we also have to realize this is the reason why there was a Juneteenth. Somebody had to survive this experience in order for us to get to the experience of emancipation.